Hey folks, thanks for stopping by. Jay here in the basement today and going to look at a camp bag and what you should have in it for your own personal gear. If you're going out car camping or in group camping, maybe 1 or 2 day hike, this is not ultralight. This is for my scouting youth, but it'd be great for a beginning camping person. I'm going to have a backpack, but I'm not really featuring the backpack, although I will mention size. That's pretty decent for this sort of thing. And some of the gear that you would want to have, and we're going out camping in the fall. I think you change things out a bit for the summer, and you're going to add a lot more warm stuff for the wintertime. I'm not going to get into the inside of the smaller bags, like your clothing bag or your ditty bag or your boo-boo bag. Just going to mention that they're there and show that you need to be packing that into your bag and give you a packing order and some of those things that you really need to have. And you're going to see that most of what we have in the bag, that's the comfort stuff for sleeping. But you know what? You're going to be sleeping for maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours if you're lucky at a scout camp or a youth camp or group camp. That's lots of fun. So you're going to want to be comfortable and you're going to want to be warm. It's a little bit easier to stay warmer in the daytime. And we're going to have some stuff for that too. So again, this is a quick look at what you could put in your camp bag for about 2 days, car camping, and some of this will apply to other camping types. This is for beginners, and it is not ultralight. Remember, think about something that's really important that often gets forgotten at camp. There's been a few things over the years that I've noticed people forget over and over and over. One of them is pretty critical, so I'm going to bring that up when we get to it. But if you can get that in the comments below, that'd be awesome. Now, this is another important part of our bag, and no, it's not a sleeping bag. That was in the other nature hike bag. This is the sleeping bag, which has all my clothes in it. So I'm going to have 2 changes of clothes, an extra set of underwear, and probably 2 pairs of socks. Now, I do carry a hoodie, and we'll have a jacket on. That's not part of this. I want that up on top, and I might even be wearing it, so I didn't pack it in the bag. This is just going to be my change of clothes. I'm going to have an thermal set, like we call them long johns, is an old term. It's just polyester, sort of poly cotton stuff. I'm never going to have cotton. And then a pair of cargo pants or 2, some t-shirts and shirts, and stuff that compresses nicely. That's it. So what do you need in here? It depends where you're camping and what you're comfortable with, and we all run at different temperatures. But here in Canada, you're going to want a couple of layers. So the t-shirt, shirt, having that extra hoodie, that's going to be important. So pack to the weather, then throw in at least 1 extra pair of socks, probably 2. There's a lot you can do with socks. Part 2 of the mess kit. This is super important, and it is not the most often forgotten thing, although components of it get forgotten a lot, like a fork or maybe my bowl or even my mug, and that's a problem. If you don't have a mug, you can't have hot chocolate or coffee, and that is going to make you sad because having a warm drink in a cold morning or just before bed is super nice. So you want your mug. I'll just pop that back in the bag so it's ready to go. I think I have a hole in this bag, but you know what? It's a mesh bag. It's got a lot of holes in it. Now, you could use any metal or plastic bowl and plate. I'd recommend 1 of each, although you can get away with 1. The lid for this makes a great plate. This makes a really big bowl, or both. And a spork for me is the weapon of choice because I have both a fork and a spoon, and it kind of reminds me of chunky soup. Chunky soup. Anyway, spork, container, the funny triangle shape. There's nothing really witty or scientific or planned about that. It was the shape of the dish when I first got this about 8 years ago when I went and joined Beavers with my son and became a scouter. So it's lasted 8 years, survived, hasn't got lost, and there's not even a name written on it. Now, why the mesh bag? I alluded to that, but if we were washing this, we're probably not going to use a dish towel. So I'd open it all up and leave it hanging on a tree, and all that air is going to get at it. Then when it's dry and I'm ready to go home, close it all up, wrap it up, and it's all together. And that's going to help me when I nest it in my bag. So that's the next important part of our kit. So this takes up more than half the space, but I'll tell you what, having a comfortable sleep is super important. So if you're going to sleep on the ground, there's a few things you're going to need. And if it's getting cooler out, which it is, our next camp is going to be about 6 degrees overnight, you're going to want to think about some ground protection. So we have our pad, and this is not any high-end pad. It's just some foam with some mylar. About $20 on AliExpress, but this is your important first layer. It's going to bring up the R value of everything. I just left it on the pack because this pack, part of the carrying frame system, is the pads. So we're going to set that aside, but you need that first. Number 1. And sticking in that theme, if I can find it buried in all here, the next thing you're going to need, so that little bit of foam isn't going to be enough to be warm or comfortable. These are going to give you slightly bit more R value. The foam's going to do a lot of the work there, but it is going to give you comfort. And you're going to want to have this maybe 2 to 4 inches in just the right height. If you're going to go after one of those big 6-inch air mats that needs a compressor, that's just not going to be possible if you're going in someone else's car or you're a youth going camping with a group. So we've got your air pad, again, another budget pad, but a super important part of the system. Then from there, I think a pillow, this helps us feel like we're right at home. And I have a video on this, Bushcraft Pillow Talk. You can make your own at the dollar store. Rolls up nice. Poly cotton liner. So get yourself a sheet. Don't get a cotton sheet. Anything but cotton. Once it gets wet, it's no good. And this is just going to help it feel just like it does at home. It's just one of those of envelopes sewn sheets, kind of like your sleeping bag. If it was really hot, you could probably just sleep in that. But that's going to help it feel more comfortable in the bag and actually help you stay a bit more warm. So put that away. Stuff it in the sack. I always like to get sacks that are a little bigger than the intended item, because if they're from the factory and they fit, once you try to put them in on your own later, if you're not all neat, like, they never fit. Okay, so we got a spare blanket. This could be used kind of as a shawl around camp, on the ground, just a little extra padding or warmth on the seat, and of course a blanket over top of you if your other blanket isn't quite cutting it. Now, sleeping bag. This is important enough to have many videos on, but basically you're going to want to go about 10 degrees colder on the rating than where you're going to be sleeping if you look at your forecast. And that's because those ratings are inconsistent. There's no real laws on that. You've got comfort rating and emergency rating. So it's going to be about 6 degrees. I'm going to want something that goes to -6. Now, this thing says something like -17 on the survival rating, and that's okay. Now, I am using the actual bag, the compression bag for the sleeping bag for my clothes, but I just find that, again, I want a bigger bag than I need. It just makes it easier to stuff. So that's the sleep system. Part 4 of what goes in the bag, or I guess 3, and one of the other things was half an item or whatever. I'm not sure if you would call the mess kit. I guess it's its own thing. Clothing is its own thing. So this really is the 4th set of items. It's kind of a catch-all category, but what we've got here, this is a baggie with extra batteries, a battery pack for a phone. I think there's a multi-tool in here and a couple other different bits and bobs that you're going to want just in case you need them at camp. I think there is sunscreen and lip balm in here too. You might want to throw in a small squish of insect repellent or some of the wipes if it's the time of year when you have bugs, which is every time but winter around here. So kind of a bits and bobs bag. Then we would also have your everyday carry bag. It's going to have a whistle, compass, notepad, paper, card with contact info. And this is a water bottle. And it's not going to open everything up, but you're going to have those kind of emergency and contact stuff. It's something you'll want to carry everywhere you go. There's even a flashlight in here. So move that to that side, with that side. And in here, this is the, is that called a ditty bag or a toiletry bag? But we've got a camp towel in here. There is a compressed cloth at the bottom here. I don't think that's ever been used. Toothpaste, toothbrush, a little picks for flossing, medication that needs to be taken daily in here, and a little boo-boo bag with a couple of Band-Aids and some gauze and stuff like that, not an actual first aid kit. So we'll call that the ditty bag. Next thing I think everybody should have in their bag. It's going to be a plastic bag. I don't care where you're at when you're camping. This is going to be so useful. And this is part of, or not part of, this is a 55-liter metal drum bag, I believe. Like a drum line, 55 liters. And it'll pack down. Now, once you unpack it, it's never as small as it was. But I use this as a bit of waterproofing for the next piece of kit. And here, no matter the season, we're recommending a toque. That's right, here in Canada, it's called a toque. I don't know what you call it everywhere else, but we're going to use that to sleep in. If we get cold, we're going to have our own other toque, but if it gets all sweaty, you want something dry and warm while you're drying the other one, super ideal. And you never know when you're going to need this. In fact, I know some people wear them all the time as a fashion statement. So there's the toque, gloves, And this, you could sleep in them. It's an extra set. If it's cold enough that you need them, you're going to want 2 sets. But keep a loose set because if you are going to wear them for sleeping, you don't want them too tight or they're going to feel funny. So there you go. I'm going to take this off. I was kind of liking the feel of it. Pop that in there, and then I'm just going to wrap it inside the bag here. And that's a little more waterproof, right? And then some kind of rain gear system, plus your regular outside clothes. But your rain gear system, and I love ponchos. You can get them nice and cinched at the waist with a string and have them not flapping everywhere, but I can use that as a shelter, a ground sheet, cover for my pack, and of course, a raincoat. So you can get all kinds of different ponchos. You choose which one you like, but I think this is great for camping, especially for car camping. It starts to rain. You can sit down. If you don't have rain pants, it's going to hang down past your shins, give you somewhere dry to sit, and you're going to be comfortable. And they vent well, so you don't get too hot. You can wear your other clothes underneath it. You can use this in wet snow, rain, whatever you need to use it for. So there's a poncho. So that's all the stuff. Well, we're going to pack it all in there in a certain order. All right, folks, you stuck around to this part where we're going to stuff it all back in the bag. And this is my packing order. I'll explain the logic, but something super important. Remember, there's something that people have forgotten at least once in their camping career, and it's super critical. And it's so important, I recommend carrying a few of them. The old flashlight, right? So this is the main flashlight, and I like this one. Nice COB, still got a Cree on there. It's going to go red. No flash. If you're worth youth, you don't want to flash on an L. This particular bag has some nice big side pockets. So I'd put that in there and grab it whenever you need it. Put it in your brain bag, put it in your cargo pants pocket, but have more than one. Easy to lose and super important. I did make it to a camp before where I was using my phone as my main light, and that was not awesome. So we'll pack that in there. I'll grab light number 2. This is just a little battery operator. Now I know my son has in his water bottle baggie a flashlight too, because we take that every scout night everywhere we go. All right, so got that. I'll put this on the ground. So the order, this is important. Put this over, get the bag open, ready to stuff. What do you guys think I'm going to put in first? I'll give you a second. It's going to be the clothing bag. Why? I don't need to get into my pajamas until after my tent is pitched and my sleeping system is out, and probably even after I've had a nice hot coffee. And that's right, I do have coffee before bed. So my regular clothes goes in the bottom. I'm still going to have a hoodie, and I'm going to have my warm weather gear if that's what I need, or rain gear out. And so I'm going to get the pack of clothes for the weekend stuffed in the bottom because I don't need it right away. Then I'm going to put some stuff on the outside pocket. I got a nice big pouch here. So in this case, though, if you don't have an outside pocket, it might go on top of this. I recommend putting this kind of stuff in the brain bag, though, if you don't have an outside pocket, because you might need it. So it's going to keep you warm. You might need that to sit on in your poncho or rain gear, just in case. You have a toque, hat, something to keep warm with. It's all in that nice pouch. And I put it in there because if I fill out the bag, that's going to get tight. Okay, so what's next? Well, I'm not going to need that mess kit right away. I have to set up my tent first. So that goes in the bottom. It's important, but I still have my water bottle. That's going to kind of go in there on top of everything. So the next thing is going to be the sleep system. And one of the things I don't need right away, probably the pillow. I don't need that until the last part of the sleep system, unless I have a nap partway through with it comfortable. Then I probably won't need this extra blanket. So I'm just packing everything in reverse order of importance to me when I'm setting up. Take my polycotton sheet. That'll probably go in next. I think I'm going to want to have the air mattress, just because it's smaller, underneath the sleeping bag. And since it's its own bag, I'm going to put it in my pack as some rain protection. I only put the air pad down there first just to keep it all in one spot. And get this inside here. Rotate it around to get more room in the bag. A little fiddly, but nothing here is breakable. So just jam that in there. Push it down. We're almost done, actually. We've got the clothing in there, all the bulky stuff. So what's left is going to be, we got our toiletry ditty bag just in case. And you put that, depending how it fits in the bag. We're going to have our personal electronics and other fiddly bits. That's my technical term for it. And the last thing, got our carry it all the time, everyday carry. So as soon as we get to camp, we're going to pull this out, keep it handy, got everything else we need. It's all in the bag. So we're going to either cinch it up and flip over the brain bag. In this case, it's a roll top. Press it all there, flip it all up, flip it down, and then you can decide. And I like to use some of the compression strapping. How much are you going to strap that down? Get the little loopy thing. I love these technical terms. And that's just keeping it all tidy. And I can tighten up the sides. That's more handy. I don't want things sticking out and I'm hiking through thicker brush. Everything's on the inside, so if I do have a short hike into camp, I'm not catching as much stuff. If it's all on the outside, I might have a tent tied on here or on the bottom. If I don't have a spot on my backpack for the pad, that can also go in one of the side pouches. I might have a trekking pole, if not in my hand, off the side, whatever else I need. But this is generally what I would recommend for beginner camper who's going with some other people. You're just bringing your own stuff because you're tagging along. If you're a scout youth, this is for you. Stuff like this. Get yourself a camp bag, about 65 liters. Get your personal clothing in the bottom. You don't need it right away. Then your mess kit. Then your sleep stuff. Then the other more sensitive stuff. And make sure there's rain gear and warm stuff. Easy to get at. Don't forget your 2 flashlights. Thank you to all my viewers and a special hello to my scout youth, scout parents, and scouters. This is an idea of what I think should go in at least the basics of your bag. You can pack it out in different ways. The gear types can be slightly different, but it's got all the major components you would need to have a fun and safe weekend. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you out at camp.